Hi.
Hello and welcome to Knock Knock Hi with the Glaucomfleckens. I am Dr. Glaucomflecken, also known as Will Flannery,
I am Lady Glaucomflecken, also known as Kristen Flannery.
and we are happy to have you here today. I'm full of energy. I'm caffeinated,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm ready to go.
You sure are.
And we have a very fun, very
Yes.
fascinating
So interesting.
guest today. Dr. K, his full name is Dr. Alok Janojia, and he is the co-founder of Healthy Gamer. I've
Yes.
seen him on YouTube, on
Yep,
TikTok, Twitter. He's got they're on
He's got
all
like
the
a
social media
Twitch, a
platforms.
Discord.
He's got an interesting story, which he gets into on his path to helping, shed light on gaming addiction. He has lots of thoughts just about technology in
Right.
general,
Mm-hmm.
how to navigate this techno world that we live in,
Right.
especially for those of us with kids.
Yes. And I think there's not enough of that in the medical space of like,
Yes.
what do you do? Right. Because, and we get into this in the episode a bit, but the medical industry is about, disease and pathology for the most part. But here's an issue that is affecting a whole generation of kids that it's not, I mean, it can be a pathology, but for just the general person, it's more just like, how do we
Right.
navigate this? It's a new thing in our parenting experience as a society.
And we have one little correction that we will address
Yes.
now. During our interview, we mentioned AAP, the American Academy of Pediatrics, I believe that's AAP. We mentioned a 2-hour per day limit on screen time.
That was their guideline.
That was their
when our
guideline.
kids were very young.
Yeah, that's pre-2016 though. So
Correct.
we got on our research horse and we looked it up after we finished recording. And in 2016, they got rid of that guideline.
They did.
Because it was not evidence-based enough to be able to put a limit on screen time, like a hard limit. So
Yes.
anyway, it's the guidelines now more of like, oh, just be careful with what they're watching. And
I feel like it's not really even a guideline anymore.
Yeah,
like that's not
much,
helpful.
There's not much
to
out
parents.
there, which is why it's so valuable, things that Dr. K is doing to try to just help us navigate that
He's
world.
got an approach that feels really tapped into the actual real world and like things you can do on a practical basis, which I really like.
And he's a smart guy, a Harvard-trained psychiatrist. He's the co-founder of Healthy Gamer. They've his programs, the things he does, has helped thousands of people. And he's worked with from the United Nations to the U.S. Surgeon General, and it just really kind of clued into this area.
Yeah.
And it made me think about our own video game experiences.
Yeah, you like video games.
I do. I have. You got me a PS5.
I did.
Well, you tried to get me one like 2 years ago.
I tried I was checking for that entire time every once in a while.
Eventually we did end up getting it. But I grew up with them. And what was the last video game you played consistently? Super Mario Brothers?
Probably. Yeah, maybe. That one was kind of fun.
Yeah.
Like I think it was Super Nintendo. That was the one
Super Nintendo,
I grew
okay.
up on, yeah.
Zelda?
No.
A little Minesweeper?
I was around video games a lot because my brothers really liked video games.
Yeah.
And then even my parents, we talked about that in the interview a little bit, but no, I don't connect with them in any way. I don't know why.
Love them.
Yes.
And
our kids love
I
them.
have fond memories of video games.
And I like seeing you guys play together, right? Like as a thing that they do with their dad. I think that's valuable.
We've got lots of Mario going on in our house.
Oh yeah.
A lot of Switch playing. Anyway, should we get to it?
A lot of Roblox too, which
I'm not in. I don't have a Roblox account. It's a black box to me. I know.
That's what I don't like about it. Like I feel like anytime there's a black box about what our kids are doing, that as a parent, that makes me very nervous.
You can tell Roblox has been on our mind because I come in hot with a little Roblox there at the beginning of the interview. So should we get to it?
Let's do it.
Here we go. Here is Dr. K. We are here with Dr. K. Thank you so much for joining us. It really is a pleasure to have you on here.
Thank you so much for having us. Or me, I guess.
Yeah, you have other people. I don't see anybody back there on the couch.
Yeah, you're a psychiatrist. Is there something we should know?
Me and the people in my head.
Yeah.
So I want to start off here with a question that's very personal to Kristen and I. what is your opinion on Roblox?
Oh,
Are you familiar with Roblox? Do you have an opinion on Roblox?
I
I'm
mean,
just gonna jump into this now
what
because
what about Roblox? So I see that this is personal to you, and Kristen just gave a
we have an 11-year-old and an 8-year-old,
okay.
so we're coming at it from that context.
and they love it. And
I feel like I'm just like out of my depth anytime I was never a video game person to begin with. I mean, I grew up around it because I had brothers who were really into it, and even my parents were really into it, which is a whole thing. Um, but I never was. And so like they are really getting into games and
Yeah.
specifically Roblox right now. And so I just don't know how to parent in a world where I don't understand any of this, right? Like
yeah,
they'll come and they'll want to buy little pets and adopt me and things like that. And it's like, how do you know how any of this works? It all just sounds like
how do you keep it safe for the
monopoly
kids too?
money.
And
And yeah, how do you keep them safe? How do you keep your credit card information safe?
Yeah. I think, y'all are not the only ones. So this is like a generational problem. And
Yeah.
basically every adult that I've talked to who's kind of in our age range, which I assume
Mhm.
we're somewhere in the same ballpark, we're like
Yeah.
talking like probably like who have young kids, even like 1 or 2 year olds, and people are like, how often do we give them a tablet?
yeah,
To older parents or with parents with older kids, or even older like teenage kids and stuff like that, who they come home from school one day and they say, I want to be a pro gamer, I want to play
mhm,
Fortnite, or I want to start streaming or whatever. How do you navigate that? It's really hard.
Right.
So
yeah,
I think the first thing to understand is, I don't think the problem is in the game. I think the problem is usually the way that we teach our children to relate to technology.
Hmm.
And the reason it's so hard is, I'm sure y'all know some of this stuff, but like, how do we learn how to parent? Right.
By
So
watching our parents.
absolutely.
yeah,
So
Yeah.
this generation of parents has a unique problem, which is
Right.
that we have to parent for technology, which in the
mhm,
thousands or millions of years that we've been human beings, no parents have ever had to deal with. We're dealing with a new problem.
Right.
mm,
And so I don't know that Roblox is good or bad, because Roblox in and of it's a platform, right? So there's like
Right.
tons of
mhm,
different games inside of it.
Yes.
But I think it's really about talking to your kids about, what does this mean to you? When you want to spend this money, like, what is the value of that money over time? So right now you want to buy this cosmetic or whatever, but are you going to enjoy the cosmetic a month from now, 2 months from now, 4 months from now? And I think it's really
mm,
about, because our approach, and this is what I do with my kids, I have a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old, it's about increasing their awareness of what technology does.
Hmm.
mm,
And once they understand it, like if you say like, okay, fine, we're going to buy this thing, but let's see how long this $15 makes you happy.
Right.
That's a good
Versus
point.
if we get a toy or a book, which one is a better use of your money?
Yeah,
And
Hmm.
so I think these are the skills that we really need to teach our kids, is awareness around what technology does to them.
Right. Speaking of what technology does, like our 11-year-old's pretty good, but the 8-year-old has a real hard time with the transition out of screen time, out of the video games in particular. She can watch TV and we can turn the TV off and she's fine, but something about the games really, and
mhm,
YouTube videos is kind of the same thing, like it's just, we call it a screen monster. She just turns into a screen monster after that. So
How
I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, I mean, so if we look at the brain, right? So basically, not all technology, like not like alarm clocks, but if we look at what we refer to as technology, so anything you can find on a tablet, like YouTube,
Yeah.
TikTok, video games, Netflix, take your choice of whatever, social media, all of it suppresses the amygdala and the limbic system. So when
Hmm.
we're watching something, all of our negative emotions are basically like shut off.
Hmm.
And so the second that we stop, there's almost like a withdrawal period in our brain where there's like a bounce back. So if you think about, mostly like medical people listen to this podcast.
Yes.
Okay. Right.
I'd hope so. I think so. I don't know why non-medical people. I hope non-medical people watch it, but yeah,
Okay.
you can use all your fancy scientific words, Mr.
Yeah.
Psychiatrist.
So if we look at like benzodiazepine withdrawal or alcohol withdrawal, there's like,
Mhm.
the second you take it away, there is a kind of like a bounce back, right? We get
Right.
hyperactivity of some parts of our brain, that can be lethal. But anytime we're talking about technology, when you take that technology away, that artificial regulation of our emotions goes away. So then there's like this torrent of hyperactivation, which then
Yeah.
naturally will equilibrate. And depending on the kid, what they're, if they've got ADHD or other kinds, it depends on their frontal lobe function and all kinds of other stuff, right? The time it takes for them to equilibrate is different.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Interesting.
What helps them equilibrate? Like, is there something you can do to facilitate that or support them while they're doing that?
Yeah. So I think so. Let me ask you: when you say that, when you stop with the 8-year-old, what does the process of stopping look like?
It depends on which parent is doing it.
Okay.
I'll just speak for my own self. When I'm doing it, I try to give her like a 5-10 minute warning, maybe both, right? So she knows it's coming, and then she's reminded it's coming, and then it comes. Um,
I have learned to do that over time because it does work better to give like a warning, like, hey, this is gonna happen here pretty soon. And then sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't.
yeah. Um, and then it's just okay. We have to turn it off, and let's find something else to do. Is usually how it goes.
Yeah, for the most part.
Okay. And then she protests.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes.
Sometimes she'll turn it off. She'll do that part fine, but then she's just a nightmare after that, right? Then it's like there's nothing to do, and she's throwing kind of temper tantrums about just being bored.
And then I recommend to her that she just instead watch my videos on TikTok, and then it makes her cry even more.
That's
Like
great.
she really is upset by that point. But anyway, I don't know.
No.
Yeah, I think that's so. When we said that social media and content on the internet suppresses the limbic system, that's all the content except for yours. Yours
Yeah,
That's
activates
right.
right.
it.
Yes. Yeah.
I
Right.
appreciate
Especially
that.
your
Yeah.
stuff on the American healthcare system, which is absolutely rage inducing.
Yeah, for real.
Is it? Yeah, that's true. I guess
Yeah.
that's true.
But kind of going back to your kids, so I think a couple of things. One is that a 5 or 10 minute warning works well, but I think even like a 15-minute warning
Okay.
works really well. Setting expectations before they start.
Yeah, sometimes I will do that if there's if it doesn't always work out that way in the real world is the
Yeah.
problem. But yeah, when I can, I try to say, okay, what's your strategy for when it's time to turn it off? How are you gonna basically regulate your emotions? She talks about taking deep breaths or whatever.
Yeah.
So
And I think just sort of letting them know, like, what is the role of technology in the day? Because I think the broader problem
mm,
that a lot of parents run into is kind of like what y'all are running into, which is that there isn't a clear replacement once it ends. And if we look at
yeah.
sort of the dopamine release of technology, it does all the work for you, right? You don't have to start playing anything. You just like literally click a button and then you're engaged. Whereas what kids have to do, especially at the age of 8, is they have to kind of ramp up towards a particular activity. That creative play doesn't engage you the way that
Mm-hmm.
technology does.
Right.
So I think really sort of thinking about when are we going to stop and what is the process of stopping? Like, what's the point of watching and playing? Like, I know that you want to do it. And I think really
Mhm.
raising that awareness like matters a lot. So even with my 6-year-old and 8-year-old, we'll talk about, okay, we're going to watch for an hour, or how long do
Mm-hmm.
y'all want to watch? Half an hour or 1 hour? And then they'll say,
Mhm.
let's watch for an hour. And then I'll go in at the half hour mark and I'll say, we said an hour. Y'all still having fun? Do you want to watch another 30 minutes? And then even at the end of the hour, I'll ask, okay, do you guys want to extend? Like, do you want to watch more? And how much fun are you going to have over this next half hour? And even they're able to understand. And there will be some days where I'll say, okay, like, we're turning it off and we're going to go to the playground. I'm going to ask you an hour from now whether that was the right choice. Are y'all glad that we
Interesting.
stopped? So I think
Mm-hmm.
it's like a lot more about the before and after, which a lot of parents, we weren't taught this stuff, right? Because our parents, like
Right.
my parents
Right.
never had a thought in the morning about what my experience was going to be like an hour and a half and 2.5 hours. There was no like randomized controlled trial in terms of happiness and contentment and how we feel
Right.
emotionally throughout our day. But that's really what parents have to do.
I
We have
think
to set
that's
up our own RCTs and have the
right.
child be a part of it and look at and analyze the results.
Yeah, that is
I've never
interesting.
thought of like having our kid
Like
talk about
participate
talk
in
about
the
their
decision
own
making. Yeah.
fulfillment in their activity.
Right.
Like, is this enjoyable to you? Like, I just kind of assume it is, but maybe it's not, and
Well, I think
she
even
doesn't
adults
recognize that.
experience it, right? When you're scrolling on your phone and at some point you're like, "Ugh, why am I've just wasted an hour just scrolling. I'm not even, this doesn't even
You
feel
don't
good
feel good.
anymore.
Yeah.
Like, why am I doing this? But kids might need a little more help,
Yeah, I
you
know
know, with that
kids
process.
will recognize. You'd be amazed at like what they can pick up.
Hmm.
And that's where if we like so I sort of think about what's the goal of a parent. So I think our goal as parents is to prepare our kids.
Right.
And if you were thinking about preparing your child 10 years from now, technology is just going to be more addictive. So we
Right.
can't really protect them from technology. We have to prepare them. And I think the most fundamental preparation we can make is having them develop an awareness of what technology is doing to them, what parts they like, what parts they don't like.
I love
And it really
that.
goes
And
a long way.
that gets to, I've always kind of, the recommendations from the AAP of 2 hours of screen time a day, right? Like that's always not quite sat well with me because it doesn't feel, it feels removed from reality a little bit. Like, yes, sure, that would be the ideal. That would be great. Good luck having any family do that though, right? Like it's very hard to be able to, screens are everywhere. Like even to do your homework, you need to be on a screen. And, it just doesn't feel realistic to me to think our kids are not going to interact with screens more than 2 hours a day. And to your point, to prepare them for the world they're going to be adults in, they're going to be on screens much more than two. I'm on a screen way more than 2 hours a day already. So, what are your thoughts on those recommendations? And like, what do you recommend?
I think they're framed in a very challenging way. So my reflexive reaction, I didn't realize that AAP had a 2 hour a day limit recommendation, but
I could be outdated by now. I mean, I looked at that
It
a long
was
time ago.
it was at one point,
2 hours.
yeah,
Okay.
but it might be different now.
so
So
Okay.
just
yeah, I
FYI
mean,
for everyone
I think the
listening.
biggest problem is like even the fundamental framing, that sounds to me like the hardest thing to implement. Because when you
Yes.
have 2 hours a day, that means they're getting something every day. And 2 hours is just enough to like reinforce the addictive nature. So what I actually find is way better. So people will ask me like, what is the hourly limit that you recommend? I don't recommend an hourly limit. I don't think it should be used in an entertaining way on a daily basis. So
Mhm.
what I kind of do with my kids and what we advocate for parents to do is once again awareness. So even it's asking, okay, so like we work with a lot of teenagers who are like addicted, right? And then parents are like, I don't know how to get them to stop. All they want to do is play as much as they want to.
Mhm.
And so then I'll sort of ask the parents, okay, like you give your kid two scenarios. You can stay up as late as you want to. You can game all day Friday, or you can game all day Saturday. You can have a binge. I'll order you pizza. You can get Mountain Dew. You can play from the moment that you wake up till the moment you want to go to sleep, but no gaming during the week. Or you can play for like an hour and a half or 2 hours a day. You tell me what's more fun for you. So this is the
Mhm.
problem is that parents run into so much resistance because we set these arbitrary limits, but it's not clear to the kid, like the kid may be fine actually not playing every day if they get something that they want.
Right.
Right? It's just
Mm.
like implementing diet recommendations for your spouse, where it's like, I'm going to say you got to eat Brussels sprouts every single day. And it's like, okay, what's the goal here? The goal is like, let's increase our fiber intake and reduce our risk of colon cancer. So
I
what
think the
kind of
goal is to
vegetable?
make you hate Brussels sprouts.
Yeah.
That's the yeah.
And I think the 2 hours a day sounds really challenging because like at 1 hour, they're going to start to get really grumpy
Yeah.
and they're not going to want to leave. Like at the second hour, you're way past the dopaminergic enjoyment point. Now it's just like, it's going to be way more like addictive and
Hmm.
emotional regulation and stuff like that. I think I would not recommend even daily usage.
Hmm.
Yeah. What do you do with your kids? What does it look like at your house? If you don't mind sharing.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we've been at it for a little while, but I would say they don't touch a screen, I would say 5 days a week, usually.
Mhm.
That's changed a little bit right now because we're actually like playing a particular Switch game like in the evenings, 2 or 3 days a week. But that's like
Mhm.
something that we're doing
Like
now. That's
family
like an event.
activity. Yeah.
And it's not like
Right.
a permanent thing. It's like, hey, we got this new game. So while we're playing, let's like relax the guidelines a little bit. And
Mhm.
that too is really important for kids to understand that you're not set in stone and we can do this sometimes. It's just it has to have the right reason to do it this way.
Mhm.
And then we're somewhat liberal in the on the weekends and stuff. So we'll kind of say like, if you want to watch a movie in the afternoon, but I would say total screen time is less than 4 hours a week.
Mm.
And a huge part of that is engaging in this like, what do y'all want to do? And then I think this problem, I think the biggest challenge, the friction is that when you guys stop, there isn't something else there. right? So
Mhm.
really showing kids, okay, like, because now what's her experience? Every time I stop the game, she suffers for 45 minutes.
Right.
So from a Pavlovian perspective, you're actually teaching her that when you take the game away, you're in for suffering for 45 minutes.
Oh, super.
Oh man,
Right? That's why, and this is the crazy
that's a
thing.
good
Parents
point.
don't realize that a lot of what we do, which instinctually used to work, is actually reinforcing the wrong behaviors.
Mm.
Yeah,
And so
man.
there are other uphill battles like stopping during meals and in the car and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think I've just gotten more like parenting advice in like what 8 minutes we've
I know.
been
I didn't
doing
realize
this.
we were going to have a therapy session this morning, but
I
I'm
did.
here
I
for
was
it.
planning for it. I was like,
Oh, we're
we
just
gotta
Get
figure
into
this
this.
out right now. Um,
I have a feeling we're going to be digging into your work a lot more,
that's
sir.
right. Well, I want to get into you've mentioned addiction a couple times, and you've been obviously very open with your own path to the healthy gamer platform that you have and the work that you do. So, can you talk a little bit about your origin story into this area and what gaming addiction looks like?
Yeah. So my origin story is, first of all, I skipped a grade. And I think
Mm,
that's
Okay.
actually quite significant because when I was 5 years old, I was competing against 7-year olds in
mm,
sports. So early on, the first thing that happened is I had this idea that I was not athletic. So I
Mm,
stepped away from a lot of like physical things. And like when you're in elementary
mm,
school, or at least when I was, a lot of your social status is also tied to your athleticism. So
right.
I was like the last kid to get picked on the team because I was playing basketball and I was playing against people who were like a foot taller than me.
Right.
And so the first thing that happened is that I could only compete on a video game with my peers. That's the only place where the playing field was level.
Hmm.
The other problem that I had in school was that school was boring. So there's a predilection towards people who are bored at school and getting addicted to video games. And the problem there is
Interesting.
that school moves at the pace of the slowest kid.
Right.
So, and if you figured out, how to do your worksheet in 10 or 15 minutes, you just get bored for the rest of school. Whereas if you look at a video game, it's really alluring for a kid who's smart because when you beat
Moves
level 1,
fast.
level 2 is waiting for you. And
Right.
if you don't beat level 1, you get to try again. Right? Whereas in school, it's like if you fail, you get an F on your transcript and then it's kind of fixed. Like you're done. You're GG.
mm.
So I grew up playing a lot of video games, and then it really became a problem starting in high school and then college. Like I just straight up failed my first year, was on academic probation, and my parents tried everything. They tried like tough love, they tried love, they tried encouragement, and like help and support and punishments and yelling, and they tried everything for a couple of years, and they just didn't know what they were dealing with, and I didn't know what I
Yeah.
was dealing with.
Right.
So failed out of basically 2 years of college. And then my dad was like, you need to go to India. And I was like, I didn't quite understand what he meant, but he didn't really know what he meant. He just knew that everything we had tried was not
Yeah.
working.
Maybe something over there will fix it.
Yeah. So and it did. So that was pretty cool. So like I went
Oh,
over there and I spent 3 months at an ashram and I learned like yoga and meditation. I decided to become a monk. I was like, this stuff is amazing.
Oh wow.
wow. What was it doing for you? Like I would have thought, so if somebody puts that on paper, I would say, okay, kid addicted to video games, failing out of school, goes do yoga and meditation. Like there, if you think school moves slow and is boring, like how what was it that was tapping into for you that made you want to do it?
Yeah, so I think the way we teach yoga and meditation here is like a fraction of how fun it can be. So we have
Okay.
a really watered down version. I'll just share with y'all kind of what I mean. So the first thing to understand is like I was incredibly frustrated with myself. So there were some days where I would sleep through my 8 a.m. class. So here's the sequence of events. I I don't wake up on time. So then what I do is I'm like, okay, let me sign up for an 8 a.m. class. That way I have to wake up on time, right? I'm going to
Mm,
create an environmental thing to force me to wake up. But then what
Right.
I found is I just sleep through the class. Like my alarm
Mhm.
would go off, I'd hit the snooze button a couple times, and I'd just turn it off. Some days I would wake up, some days I wouldn't. And on the days that I did wake up, I wasn't really proud of myself because I was like, my circadian rhythm is all messed up. But on the days that I didn't go to class, I was really frustrated with myself. And I just didn't understand why I could not do, like, I know I'm failing out of college. I know that's a bad idea. I was pre med at the time. and was like, this is bad. Like, I'm not going to get into medical school. Oh my God. Like, one F on a transcript basically ruins it. And I've got one whole year of them. So I was really frustrated because I didn't understand like how to wake up on time. I didn't understand how to stop playing, even though I knew I should stop. So I understood intellectually what to do, but I did not understand how the body and mind work so that I can actually like point in a direction and have the mind go in that direction. That's what I learned in India. Is how does a human being, so we studied formally, like, so we'll study like pathology, right? Or even psychology or psychiatry. If you take a psychology class, they'll teach you experiments about general human behavior. They don't teach you how to wake up on time or how to eat healthy or anything like that. You don't learn that in the psych major. So we don't have any class that teaches us about ourselves and how we work. Where do desires come from? How do you conquer a desire? Where do emotions come from? How do you manage your emotions? What is the relationship between emotion, identity, ego, desire, wants, needs, duty, should? All of these different things in the mind we don't learn about. So I learned that and I was like, this is amazing. Now I understand where my desires come from and I can actually control them and I can understand, what decisions are being driven by ego. And then as I started like decreasing my ego and stuff like that, like I started doing way better. So I fell in love with that because it was like, this is what I've been looking for. I've been going through life and I don't understand how to control me. And I learned how to control me. So I decided to become a monk.
When are you going to write that book? Because I would like to read it.
So it's funny, you guys met. So I wrote my first book, which is coming out in March, which is a parenting book.
Yeah, totally going to pre-ordering that after we're done here.
Yeah, so it's actually available for pre-order. But so it's about how to raise a healthy gamer. So what I kind of realized is I'm helping all these gamers. And then I was like, the best way to fix this is actually like from a public health perspective. We have to equip parents to prevent these kids from ending up with our audience, which is like these 25-year-old people who have fallen behind in life and video games have really like messed things up for them. But yeah, that's going to be probably book number 3 is my guess, but I'm working on it.
Well, I will be impatiently waiting.
Well, impatiently waiting in India. I think you're going to be going.
Yeah. It sounds like I should.
Should we send you out there?
Maybe all of us. Family yoga, meditation training.
It sounds amazing.
If y'all want to go, just ping me and I'll send y'all Rex.
There you go.
Good to know. Yeah.
So you're at some point you went from wanting to be a Buddhist monk, you said?
Hindu, but
Hindu monk.
Very similar.
To coming back and doing medical school. So what happened there?
Well, I met my wife, and that was also kind of interesting because I had 2 years of just abysmal dating experience, like just really unhealthy relationships and stuff while I was, in college and all that good stuff. And then once I decided to become celibate, I found that it really freed up my interactions with women. There was no pressure and I could just be me and I wasn't looking for anything. And it turns out that it's way more attractive to women when you're just like a regular human being. And so I started dating my wife, and because I tried to take my vows when I was 21 and my teacher said, you can't yet. They were smart. And they realized that this was like kind of temporary. And so they're like,
how long were you there at that point?
So I spent 3 months there and then I came back. And then for the next 7 years, I spent summers and usually December. So 4 months a year in India for about 7 years. So I'd always go back and kind of do advanced stuff. But I basically met my wife and then decided I didn't need to become a monk. And that she also wanted to be married to a physician. And we're both Indian and it's a big part of what we do.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
And actually my teachers told me, they're like, you need to get a doctoral degree. And then at the age of 30, if you want to take vows, you can. So my teachers didn't explain explicitly, but they were like, I'm ready to forsake my life and give everything up. And they were like,
at 21 years old.
Yeah. They're like, bro, like you don't have anything giving. You're not giving anything. You have nothing worth giving up. So like go get something first and then give it up because that's really what it takes.
Smart. Right.
So like build something up and then get ready to throw it away 9 years from now. And if you still want to do that and if you're dedication. That committed, then we'll take you.
Yeah.
In the back of their mind, you think they were thinking, no, he's not.
He's never gonna.
That's not gonna happen. Well, maybe
I think so. I think they understood that my motivations were really from escapism as opposed to
Mm.
So then I was like, okay, I have to get a doctoral degree. That's what my guru told me. And she wants me to go to med school, so I might as well. Honestly, that's was a big part of it.
Hmm.
And then the other piece was I really wanted to understand people. So like I had understood this kind of yogic meditation sort of side. And then I
Mhm.
wanted to understand, I was like, okay, like if I really want to understand every aspect of a human being, like let me go to med school. So the big irony is that I ended up working way harder. So once I had sort of like given up on my ego and I was like, this is a temporary thing. But I learned how to just put forth effort where I wanted to. So if I told my mind, hey, we're going to do this,
Hmm.
that it would actually listen, which was super cool. So
Yeah.
then ended up applying to med school 120 times, got accepted on application 120.
I was
Wow.
gonna say
Like a literal.
you must have had a hell of a personal statement, man. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
it's an interesting path, right? It's really I mean, I think it shows because obviously you had to come back and you had all these bad grades on your transcript, right? So you had to overcome that, which
Yep.
Right.
is the emphasis we put on grades
Yeah.
is I mean that's a whole other conversation
Right.
what the emphasis should be on, but you still had to overcome that, right?
Yeah. So I ended up getting three. So I graduated with like a 2.5 GPA. So that was hard. And then I ended up ultimately getting like one interview a year because there was enough
Hmm.
stuff. And then thankfully in the third year of applying to med school, I got one interview and got accepted. So it just,
Awesome.
took
Wow.
a couple of,
I mean that's a
Yeah.
lot. It's
yeah.
3 years of I mean that's a success story right there. And
Right. I mean, that shows a lot of persistence and
yeah.
and dedication to this goal. And I think, obviously all of the work you were doing in India would serve you well during medical school and in your career. So I
I
think
think that's certainly one way to look at it, but I think the other side is a lot of stubbornness and stupidity. So,
well, sure.
seriously, because
Sometimes they're very related,
they
right?
are, right? So what's the difference between perseverance and stubbornness? It's just if you win at the end, they call you perseverant.
Right.
And if you lose
Mhm,
at the
that's
end, they
true.
call you stubborn.
Hmm.
That's a good point. Now, were you psychiatry all the way
No, so I
in
was
med
going to
school?
do like holistic oncology. That was the plan. So I had
Oh,
Okay.
geared up and done some neuroscience research and stuff and was working on like a Tai Chi and immunology lab and all that kind of good stuff. Um, and
I
so
didn't even know that
was
was a thing.
y-
That's
yeah, so
Yeah.
was doing like evidence-based complementary and alternative medicine, but mostly for physical illnesses.
gotcha.
And then it was actually in my psychiatry rotation, which was just mind blowing. Like, and it took me a long time. So I did it early, right? Because in med school, you want to do like your week rotations first before you do like internal medicine and surgery and the stuff you want to get honors in.
Hmm.
So psych was my second rotation. And I really loved it. I had trouble coming to terms with the fact that I loved it. But
Yeah.
it was so much fun. And, and, uh, and then it took me a little while. And then I ended up, um, sort of doing a sub-I in internal medicine and psych in my fourth year. So one of my mentors was like, I was having trouble deciding. And so fourth year rolled around and I was like, I may seriously want to do psych. So I was like
Mm.
90% internal medicine, 5% psych, and 5% surgery going into my fourth year.
Oh, you had a little surgery in there, huh?
Yeah, SICU. So I didn't like the OR, but I thought that a surgical ICU was like very
You like
engaging.
that part?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Gotcha. That's
Um,
still an area that I have no idea. Even though I'm a surgeon, but I have no idea how things work in the SICU. Never. I
well,
don't think
yeah.
I've even.
So
I don't know
speaking
if
of
I've
which,
ever been in a
y'all,
SICU.
I don't even know what flavor of doctors you are.
I'm an ophthalmologist.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
kind of.
So so yeah, I actually there's probably surgeons listening to this, they're like
So you're not a
rolling their
surgeon.
eyes like, but I do operate on and inside eyeballs, which
It's
is an
true.
organ. So I mean,
Technically, you are a surgeon. That's correct.
but the hospital medicine was never like my bag. So
Okay.
I agree with you actually on the psychiatry rotation. It was just because I had a required psych rotation, and it was just so different than any other rotation you do. A total change of pace. And what I found talking to my classmates is like you either really liked it or you didn't. That seemed to be the case,
Yeah. And I think there's a few and Kristen, I'm sorry, what flavor? Or I don't even know if
I
you're
am not a
okay.
physician, actually. I'm here to provide the non-medical
Brilliant.
questions. But, um but I do relate to you a lot on this idea of, being fascinated by people and how the body works and how the mind works. And I studied kind of the interaction of that, how they affect each other. I did my graduate work in social psychology and
Mm,
cognitive neuroscience. And I
super
was
cool.
specifically looking at emotion. Um, so I'm with you on how interesting it all is. But yeah, I'm not a physician.
But I have a question about, so you're in this world of technology and interested in helping young people or really anybody that is, into gaming, but is our the way we approach mental health, is it set up to help those people? Because
It feels like it's a whole different world now
right, like
than
is
what,
the way we
everybody.
approach like therapy and
Right.
and trying to is it, I mean,
There
does
were
it does
no
it need to
video
catch up?
games for, Freud and Bowlby and all these people
Right.
that we've based all of
Yeah.
our psychotherapy on. So what's
Clarify your question for me.
I guess what I'm asking is, um, have you the platform you have in helping people in gaming, uh, it seems very unique
Mhm.
in a way that traditional therapy,
right?
it just fails to reach these types of people, young people, people into gaming, and so uh, is I'm curious to hear your thoughts about how to reconcile kind of society's approach to mental health and the upcoming generation.
Yeah, so it's a beautiful question, and this is where I know y'all make a fair amount of public health content. So I also have an MPH, and I think when I started HG, that was a very formative part of like how I approached it.
Mm.
So what I was seeing in the office is that, and this isn't just about gaming. That so if you look at our healthcare system in general, and this is true of mental health too, we're really good at like certain things. So we're really good at acute care, but we're not very good at behavioral change. We're kind of okay at population based medicine that is like low touch. So we're really
Mm.
good at giving people SSRIs, cholesterol meds. You have an appointment once every 6 months, and 30% of the population will get 30% better from this kind of stuff. So very,
Right.
very low cost, really low lift, and you get some really good value out of that, right? So we've got preventive medicine, like metformin for diabetes kind of stuff, SSRIs for anxiety or mood kind of stuff. And then we're like good at hospitalization. So we can, help people with ECT and acute stuff and give them, 5250 if they're
Right.
distressed or whatnot. But it's really in this middle area that we fall short. And then the second problem is that we're really so our system of psychiatry, I think, has evolved in the wrong direction. So the first is that it focuses on pathology, which is what it's supposed to do. So this isn't the fault of psychiatry. But if we look at behavioral change and understanding oneself, this is actually not what psychiatrists are trained to do.
Mhm.
And this is why you see like this emergence of coaching, which like a lot of therapists are like, what is this stuff? Like, and then I'll see, things on in psychotherapy communities where someone will say, oh, their coach really helped them with this problem. And like, we've been working on it for 3 years. And then all the other therapists will say like, oh, like it's not the coach, it's you, you've been doing it. We'll all be very supportive. But I don't think as a field therapists have asked why the field of coaching is exploding, right? So there's a
Right.
huge demand for it. And why is that? It's because in therapy, we're actually trained on a pathological model. We're not trained to help someone at baseline get better. We're
Mm.
trained to help someone who has a pathology achieve baseline. So
Mhm.
if we look at like, you know, addiction treatment, which makes sense, it's like, how do we get you to stop being an addict and be like baseline normal human being? How do we get someone with depression to no longer be depressed and be able to go to work? So I had one patient, for example, it was very formative for me, where we worked together for a couple of years. And then he said, like, hey, I'm not getting better. Like, I still feel the same. And we'd seen a lot of functional improvement. So he was like going to work and like was able to engage in relationships and stuff like that. So he'd like move forward on a lot of like functional indicators. And then one day we had a conversation about, it's not that you're not depressed anymore. You're not depressed, you're unhappy. And there's a big difference between those two. So I think the biggest mistake that we make in psychiatry is that we use all of our tools to fix broken people instead of taking normal people and helping them become healthy, helping them become happy. And this is where the coaching stuff kind of grew up, because the coaching was actually started by people who were experts in positive psychology. These are psychologists who then realized, okay, there's this like performance-based stuff where now you have all these coaches like that work at Google and places like that. We have all these interventions that can help people improve their lives outside of pathology. So I think when it comes to technology, yeah, go ahead, Will.
No, go ahead. Yeah, no, keep
So
going.
when it comes to technology, I think this is the realm where it's not sufficient because our standard models don't work anymore. So if we look at addictions, first of all, like 95% of addictions is substance use disorders. Okay. Right. So very few people like treat porn addiction or like sex and love addiction or whatever. So if you think about the training that y'all got, right? Chances are it's on substance use, and you didn't spend, I would be surprised if Will saw a single patient who was addicted to sex.
No, I can't say I have.
Yeah,
no.
right. So now what's going on is we've got a whole system that is designed on substance use disorders, and the goal of substance use disorders is sobriety. So all of our addiction research and our infrastructure is based on sobriety. But when it comes to technology, that's not an option. So this is a huge gap in the field of psychiatry, that the problem that we're facing is fundamentally different.
Yeah.
And so what we try to do is help people build a life that is worth living. That's the ultimate antidote to a technology addiction, is when your psychological needs can be met in a more healthy way in the external world as opposed to the virtual world. That is when the natural desire to play video games will disappear. And that's kind of what we shoot for, which is not usually what psychiatry focuses on.
Right. So what is your approach? How do you shoot for that?
So I think we teach a lot of this Eastern stuff. So it starts with really simple stuff like, okay, like what does a game do to you? And what are your goals? Like what kind of life do you want? And how can you go about building that life? So we offer a lot of like kind of behavioral based interventions too, where we'll teach people like, okay, like what's something that you can do that will help you feel better about yourself and stuff like that. Why is it hard for you to do that, right? So this is the other problem we have in medicine, is that we'll have these studies that will say, okay, exercise helps reduce video game playing, or this kind of intervention, these cross-sectional studies that show eating fiber, pooping properly, exercise, getting hugged, having a cat, all of these things will improve your mental health outcomes. But in our system of research, we don't help people to do the how. So how do I avoid eating crap? Like we don't teach people that. So what we really try to do at HG is kind of the same stuff I was telling y'all about parenting, is inviting people to observe themselves and become aware. And this is what's really fascinating, is that people don't understand neuroscientifically what willpower is. The circuit in our brain that gives us awareness is the same circuit as willpower. Willpower is not actually separate from awareness. They're the same. And so all you have to do is increase awareness. And that gets kind of confusing, but I can explain into more detail if you want. But it's kind of weird because we think about willpower as a separate thing from awareness, but they're actually not in the brain. Same part of the brain.
Which part is it? Out of curiosity.
I think it's the
not the
frontomedial gyrus.
I know that.
Yeah.
Frontomedial gyrus. That means nothing to me.
Yeah. It means something to me, but not a lot anymore. It's been a long time. Yeah.
Got to refresh my neuroanatomy.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back with Dr. K. Hey, Kristen, what do you know about hearts?
Well, I know they need to beat.
That's true, and you're really good at making them do that.
Yeah, I did that once.
You helped me with mine.
I did.
I still appreciate that, by the way.
Well, you're welcome.
You know what would help you learn even more about hearts?
What?
the Echo Core 500 digital stethoscope with 3-lead ECG.
Nice.
This thing is awesome. How do I look?
You look
with
so
the...
fancy.
Doesn't that look nice? It's
Yeah.
like anybody who listens to Hearts in your job
Yeah.
could benefit from one of these.
That's right.
It's got 40 times noise amplification, noise cancellation, 3 audio filter modes, and a full color display.
Yeah, so you can listen and see the ECG.
That's
it's amazing.
Right. It's really cool. I mean, what stethoscope allows you to do that?
I know. We live in the future.
It's incredible. It's also the best sounding digital stethoscope that you're going to find out there. Trust me on that. We have a special offer for our U.S. listeners. Visit echohealth.com/KKH and use code KNOCK50 to experience Echo's Core 500 digital stethoscope technology. That's EKOHealth/KKH and use KNOCK50 to get a 75-day risk-free trial and a free case and free shipping with this exclusive offer. Hey, Kristen, do you mind if this little guy stares at you while you talk?
Well, they're kind of growing on me. I mean, hopefully not literally, but these cute little guys.
You know what they are, right?
Yeah.
Demodex mites.
That's right.
They cause itchy, red, scaly skin on the eyelids because they live on the eyelash follicles.
Yeah, just eating up all your dirts and oils.
That's why it's important to get your eyelids checked out if you have those types of symptoms. Don't freak out. Get checked out. To find out more, go to eyelidcheck.com. That's EYELID check.com to get more information about Demodex Blepharitis. All right, we are back with Dr. K, and I just have one more follow-up question. I have a fun activity for us to play. I think it'll be fun. I personally think it'll be fun. I don't know if you guys will think it's fun, but that's not what matters.
You gotta have content. You gotta just sell it. You gotta convince us it'll be fun.
That's right. First, Dr. K, I want to just one more follow-up question. You've mentioned gaps in medical training and psychiatry. What do you think we can do to bridge this gap? And is it possible? Because it sounds like psychiatry, you're right, is geared toward pathology. And that's important, right? We still have to do that, to educate, physicians about that. But what can we do to kind of bridge this gap?
So I think a couple of things. The first is, I think, like you said, we have to, first of all, acknowledge that psychiatry the goals are, generally speaking, a little bit more acute, a little bit more pathological. But I think what we're starting to understand is that the mind as an organ is like different from all the other organs. So it's the only organ of the body that requires, for example, social interaction to be healthy. It's the only organ that, the baseline level of health, if we look at what makes people's minds healthy, it's not necessarily stuff that is done in an office. So this is what's so tricky, right? So we can look at something like exercise, where exercise has good outcomes for endocrinology, for cardiology, for pulmonology, every organ system of the body, but we don't teach people how to exercise. That's not what physicians do. But if you look at I think the single most effective thing that you can ever do as a doctor is help your patient quit smoking in terms of outcomes. Mm-hmm. And so in psychiatry, we sort of have to acknowledge that this is a problem and we have to train people to deal with acute stuff. But I think it would be helpful if we really helped at least psychiatrists be a little bit more aware of technology's impact. So I think that's the first thing that has to happen is we really have to teach more about technology, the neuroscience of it, the psychology of it. Because I think technology addiction is growing very rapidly. I mean, the highest prevalence is like 22% in some countries, like in the Middle East, which is staggering. Like alcohol is like 6%.
Wow.
Is the research there? I mean, I assume there's a lot of work being done to quantify and kind of try to figure out the underlying pathophysiologic.
Yeah, so I think that there's a lot of research and it's not quite there. And I think this is where the second thing that we need to do is change the way that we adapt to medical problems. So right now we've got a system that's just way too slow. So what happens is we do a bunch of studies, right? So each study, like you're 1 year in IRB, you recruit human subjects, the trial lasts 3 years, you do data analysis, and then, so 4 years after you start the study, you have a publication. We wait for 20 to 25 publications. Then we develop a guideline. Then the guideline gets taught to medical students who then 8 years later become psychiatrists and
Right.
then enter clinical practice. So
Meanwhile, that technology is now obsolete.
exactly. So that's the key thing. You hit the nail on the head there, Kristen, because we have studies coming out about how to deal with Facebook. And like Facebook usage has already declined so much. So the pace at which technology is advancing, our medicine can't keep up.
Mhm.
And it takes a worldwide effort to get something like a COVID vaccine in 1 year, right? Which is
Right.
the fastest medicine has ever moved.
Right.
And so I think we need to change the way that we sort of do training a little bit. And I think sort of like more like CME kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
where we really need people to understand that, especially when we're dealing with technology, that it's going to be changing every 6 months. And we need some
Right.
way to keep up with that. The closest
Yeah.
thing in medicine I can think of is almost something like an antibiogram, where
Oh yeah. Yeah.
the
Good
each thing
example.
is unique. Each bacteria is unique and has unique resistances. Let's develop a system to create a personalized, rapid approach that can target this very specific thing. And what we've sort of found with video game addiction and technology addiction is that there's a subset of all these different disorders. So even the reason someone gets addicted to Instagram as opposed to Facebook, as opposed to TikTok, as opposed to a video game, there are different fundamental psychological things going on. And understanding those things, I think, is really important. But I think we need to move faster, and we need to have a slightly better emphasis on behavioral addictions and
Mhm.
teach a little bit more beyond sobriety is the only answer.
Right.
Interesting. Do you still game? Do
Absolutely.
you what do you I'm curious, what do you play?
So
What's your
right
go-to?
now I'm playing Elden Ring, if y'all are familiar with it, and I'm playing Mario with my kids.
We
Um,
bought Mario as well.
and then
You
We
say we as if I'm
we
involved in this.
because I love video games. I grew up on video games. I love
yeah,
playing, and so we bought the Mario game, and it's a fun. I've underestimated how much fun it can be, like to do that as a family.
yeah.
Like it's it's just a way to
Yeah.
connect with the kids.
Well, this is a weird question given the topic of addiction, but like I think I'm broken in the other way. Like
Yeah.
it does not I just can't get into it. It does nothing for me. I'm bored.
Okay, but also you do have a pathological lack of competitiveness.
Yeah. That's true.
You
There's no point. I guess I'm a very practical person. And to me, it's like, what is the point of this? There's no practical, I'm not getting anything by doing this. Stars and noises and stuff aren't
yeah,
doing it
I
for
don't
me.
know.
Yeah, so we know that there are different personality characteristics that make people addicted to different kinds of games. So, I have no idea, but my guess is that there are games, and we know that a lot of the normal games are masculine focused. So they're like
Right.
made for men, designed
Mhm.
by men.
Right.
And that there are a lot of games out there like Animal Crossing or whatever that like sometimes women will enjoy more. But my wife hates that stuff too because she's like, this stuff feels like chores. Like I hate this.
Yeah, exactly. What women want to farm?
Yeah, exactly. It's like and so she's kind of that way. And gaming isn't for everyone. Um,
Right.
and
I,
that's
Yeah.
what I kind of mean is
we
that
can
social
find you a
media
game.
can sometimes scratch that itch for different people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or podcasting.
I
Here you
don't
go.
know. I
Or
jump
you
around too much. Maybe I'm ADHD. I don't know. Maybe I have undiagnosed. I can't sit and do something that long.
well, we're not gonna make Dr.
No, we're
K
not gonna diagnose me.
diagnose us anymore or provide any other advice for us. He's already done plenty. But what I wanted to do before we wrap up here is I have a game that Kristen, you're gonna play.
Okay.
And Dr. K is gonna help us with.
Okay.
Awesome.
So I try to come up with some kind of activity that's related to the topic that we're discussing. And so obviously it's gaming today. And so you have to guess so I'm going to give you a name.
Okay.
And you have to guess, is this the name of a medication or is it a character in a video game?
Two things I know nothing about.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right. All right. Here we go.
Oh boy, this
We're
is going to
gonna-
be interesting.
Now we're going to start off because I know that you're not into gaming at all.
hmm
We're going to start with an easy one. Zelda.
Okay, that's a game. Everyone
Okay.
knows that one.
Very good. All right. Okay. How about Lumacress?
Lumacress. That sounds like a medication.
It is. It's a medication used to treat lung cancer.
Okay.
All right. How about Dragon Bloom?
Well, that's got to be a game.
That's a video game. It's a name from Monster Hunter. Have you ever played Monster Hunter?
I have.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway, I've never played that one actually. Here's one that might be kind of tough. Oblivion.
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 I'm going to go medication.
Are you
Same.
familiar with that one?
Oblivion or Oblivion?
That's a good question.
This is a brand name medication.
Yeah,
called
I would go with
Hey.
med.
This is actually a sedative that was launched in 1953.
That
Beautiful.
sounds terrifying now that I
Yes.
know that. Oblivion, like Oblivion,
Yeah.
and it's a sedative from the 50s.
Yes,
I think you're not
exactly.
coming back from that one.
Exactly. Time magazine described Oblivion as taking the fear out of visits to the dentist.
Ooh,
Because
nice.
you are completely dead.
That's right. It was only available on prescription and was completely withdrawn in 1967.
Do you know why? What happened with Oblivion?
I actually don't know the answer to that.
I feel like it might be obvious reasons, but I don't know.
maybe people were going unconscious at the dentist and they didn't like that. I don't know. Okay, here's one. Here's one.
Okay.
Stellara.
Oh, that's a medication. I've heard commercials.
Oh,
for
you've
that.
heard that. Okay,
Yeah.
I thought I was going to get you on Stellara. Okay, all right.
There's a game called
Um,
Stellaris.
Ooh, very
Stellar.
close.
What kind of game is that?
It's a turn-based strategy game in space.
Oh, gotcha.
Oh.
Okay, all right. Here's one. Xiaflex.
That's got to be a medication.
God, you're okay. All right. Here's
I'm
one.
better at
Okay.
this than I thought I would be. They just kind of they have a sound to
They
them.
do, but some of them are all right. All right. Here's one.
Also sounds
Here's
kind of
one.
like a Pokemon. Like some of these like medications, I
Xiaflex,
think would be
yeah.
like Pokemon names.
like Snorlax.
Yeah.
Snorlax could be like some kind of laxative. I don't
To
know.
help
Or-
you stop snoring?
Yeah.
What?
I don't know. You can snore more when you're not having diarrhea with Snorlax.
Or something with the soft palate. Snoring.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. you
Yeah,
got
because Snorlax I think
relaxing
sounds
the-
like a good medication. I think most Pokemon. Right.
You're right. Yeah. Pikachu.
Pikachu sounds like a sneeze medication.
Something to help you
Yeah.
stop sneezing.
Beautiful. Allergy medicine. Pikachu.
There you go. All right. A couple more.
Okay.
Kael'thas.
Game.
Yes. That is a
Alright.
name from Warcraft 3, The Frozen Throne.
Kael'thas
One
is a
of-
blood mage. Not to
Oh,
be
it's
trifled with.
Oh,
Whoa.
you're familiar with Kael'thas.
Absolutely.
What is
It
a
sounds like the vegetable to me, but
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It's-
Also from World of Warcraft, The Burning Crusade, and Shadowlands.
Hmm.
Anyway. All right.
World of Warcraft. I don't know all the 2s and 3s and whatnot, but that was the one that my parents
Yeah, your parents were big into World of
for a
Warcraft.
long time while I was in
Absolutely.
high school.
Yeah.
It was a
Oh,
very
your parents
cool
were
time.
playing WoW?
My parents,
yeah.
yes, my
Oh, wow.
parents.
Oh yeah, they're playing into their probably their
I think
40s,
they still have accounts.
50s.
Yeah.
So
No,
they're
in their
into it.
60s.
All right. Let's see. How about Electo?
That's a tough
That
one.
that's I'm gonna go game.
Ah, you got it. Nicely done. That's actually from a game I play. It's probably that
Oh.
character's probably from. It's like a Greek, like a mythology. I think it's
Yeah.
one of the Furies, I believe. Electo. It's in
Hades?
Hades. Yeah, I
Nice.
love that
Great
game.
game.
Oh, that game is so
Fantastic
fun.
game.
Is that the shooter one you do?
Yeah, the one where I'm just it's just chaotic and
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
It's
know.
good stuff.
it's great. It's fantastic.
It's basically
All right.
like a video game about being in the emergency room.
Oh yeah. I can
There's
see
just
that.
people come at you, spitting stuff, vomiting stuff, shitting stuff all over you. You have to dodge
I've never
everything.
made that connection, but you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. All right, last one. Question.
Medication.
Yeah. All
I
right.
don't know what it is, but they do. They each have their own sound to them.
They do. All right. I could have done better with this. But
No, I think
anyway,
Kristen's really good. I don't think I would have. I mean, I
That-
know half the characters and half
Right.
the
That's right.
medications, and I don't think I would have gotten. Her success rate is she's 100%, right? So
I
far.
know. Yeah.
Yeah,
that
you
crushed
should.
it.
I was a straight A student.
Ooh.
Yeah.
The last one I had, which is probably too easy, is Raptor Gaze.
Oh, that's a game. Yeah.
From a game called Guild Wars 2. Anyway.
I think it's something from like the reading, writing, language
I guess
pieces that give it away for me. But
all right, so that was Name That Name, I think.
Right.
Yeah, nicely done. All right, so Dr. K, we want to make sure we give you a chance to talk about some of the things that you're working on.
Tell us where everyone can find all of your things, because I'm gonna go look because I need to know how to fix.
So I think if y'all are like interested in, most of the stuff that we're known for is our YouTube channel. So we've got a YouTube channel that's healthygamer_GG, where we make just YouTube videos about all kinds of like applicable mental health stuff. So sometimes we'll go into deep dives of trauma and stuff like that. But oftentimes it's more practical stuff like, how do I better understand my emotions? Where does emotion come from? Where does willpower come from? What's going on in my brain when I'm unmotivated? Things like that. Go ahead.
No, that's what I want to know.
Yeah. So I think we try really hard to sort of combine like neuroscience and clinical medicine with like some of these Eastern concepts. So like sort of combining East and West. So subjectively, what's the meditation exercise, and then what happens in your brain when you do it, kind of thing. We also have a guide to mental health, which is for people that are interested in kind of like my approach to particular diagnoses, like ADHD, depression, anxiety. I also have a meditation guide. And then we have a book coming out, How to Raise a Healthy Gamer, in March. And you can get it anywhere you can pre-order stuff.
And is that book 1 or 2? Because I'm waiting for 3, so I need to know where we are.
Book 1. So first book is actually a parenting book, which is kind of interesting because that's not really our target audience. But I think just in terms of how to have the biggest impact on video game addiction, I think we've got to equip parents, because just like y'all, like parents don't know exactly what to do.
Well, that was the first thing we wanted to talk to you about.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
I mean, I think there's a lot of people that could really appreciate some guidance on this.
And I think parents don't. I think this may be the early time in history, maybe not the first time, where now y'all have an industry, like a multi-billion or even trillion-dollar industry, that is like invested in keeping your kid glued to the screen.
Right.
And so I think it's really hard to parent when you've got someone who's like, in the past we've had problems like nicotine and stuff like that, where there's like industries that are trying to addict your kids. But gaming is just so much more prevalent. It's so much more accepted. It starts at 1 year old or 2 years old.
Right.
And so it's really challenging for parents.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go subscribe to everything and purchase everything.
And you're on, it looks like you have accounts on most of the major platforms here, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Healthy Gamer, and the book, How to Raise a Healthy Gamer, coming out in March. So fantastic stuff. It's enlightening, very interesting talking with you. Thank you so much for coming on, Dr. K.
Thanks for having us. Or me. Thank you all for having me.
Full circle.
There we are again.
All right. Hey, take care. I just learned a ton of stuff.
I know. I feel like I could have asked him a million more questions, but they would have all been like personal. So.
I feel like maybe I came a little hot out of the gate with the Roblox.
You might have.
I've been thinking. I was like, but we've talked about it before. It's like what is going on with this thing? It seems very addictive, and I feel like I'm gonna have my identity stolen.
I know. It's really sketchy sometimes.
They want the money with to buy things, trinkets.
The real money to buy the fake money to buy the things that are just pixels.
But it's such good advice though. On like I think I have some ideas of how we can help our
right,
kids.
Even just what he said in this episode, and then I'm real excited to get his book and see what else is in there.
Absolutely. Let us know what you guys think. If you have also any ideas for guests, anybody you want to hear on our show, we'd love to get some feedback. There's lots of ways to hit us up. You can email us, knocknockhi@human-content.com. Visit us on all the social media platforms. You can hang out with us in the Human Content Podcast family. We're a growing family.
Aww.
We've had children. Some adopted kids. We're really it's
your mind is a strange place.
I'm
not sure where you're going with that.
Anyway, Human Content Podcast family on Instagram and TikTok @Human Content Pods. Thanks to all the wonderful listeners leaving feedback and reviews. We love those reviews. If you subscribe and comment on your favorite podcasting app or on YouTube, we can give you a shout out. Like today, Lorelei on Apple said, eyes are gross.
Thank you, Lorelei. I agree.
Nasty little face spheres. By the way, that was a 5-star review.
Perfect. Oh, love it. That one is right up my alley.
Oh, she's not wrong.
Nasty little face spears.
I love that. I might actually have to use that. That's pretty good. Also, full episodes of this podcast are up on my YouTube channel every week at Glaucomfleckens. We also have a Patreon. Lots of fun perks, bonus episodes where we react to medical shows and movies. Hang out with other members of the Knock Knock High community. It's another family that's growing.
Yeah.
Lots of children over there.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe some grandchildren.
Could be.
Great-great-grandchildren.
Not real sure the demographics.
We're there. We are the patriarch and matriarch of the Patreon. So we're there. Early ad-free episode access, interactive Q&A live stream events, and much more. Patreon.com/Glaucomfleckens or go to Glaucomfleckens.com. Speaking of Patreon community perks, new member shout out,
Woo-hoo.
Bella E, Marie H, Parker, and Kuma and Peter. Welcome, everyone. And as always, shout out to the Jonathans. A virtual head nod to you all. Patrick, Lucia C, Sharon S, Omar, Edward K, Stephen G, Jonathan F, Marion W, Mr. Granddaddy, Caitlin C, Brianna L, Dr. J, Rossbox, Chaver W, Leah D, KL, Rachel L, Ann P, Keith G, JJ H, Abby H, Derek N, Jonathan A, Mark, Mary H, Susanna F, Mohammed K, Aviga, Parker, Bubble Salt, and Pink Macho. Thank you all for being Jonathans. We can never have too many Jonathans.
I know. I love it. They're
You
growing.
never have
They're
too many
multiplying.
Patreon roulette time. Random shout out to someone on the emergency medicine tier. Shout out to Tarika for being a patron. Thank you, Tarika. And thank you all for listening. We're your hosts, Will and Kristen Flannery, also known as the Glaucomfleckens. Special thanks to our guest today, Dr. Alok Janojia, aka the Healthy Gamer. Our executive producers are Will Flannery, Kristen Flannery, Aaron Cormie, Rod Goldman, and Shanti Brook. I feel like I barely said Aaron Corney's name right.
Yeah, you might have said Cormie.
Corney. Maybe I said Corney. Corney? Corney. What did I say? I said it wrong. Anyway, he knows who he is. Our editor and engineer is Jason Portiz. Our music is by Omar Benzvi. To learn about Knock Knock High's program disclaimer, ethics policy, submission verification, licensing terms, HIPAA release terms, you can go to Glaucomfleckens.com or reach out to us at knockknockhi@human-content.com with any questions, concerns, or fun medical puns or limericks. We got a limerick once.
We
Remember
did.
that?
It was an AI generated limerick.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. And I didn't realize
AI still
that.
has a ways to go.
Yeah, it's I think my job as a comedian ophthalmologist is secure.
I think so. For
Knock
the
Knock
time
High
being.
is a human content production.
Knock knock. Goodbye.
Thanks for watching the episode. You can find more on that playlist over there. If you prefer to listen or you just had your eyes dilated, you can binge full episodes wherever you get your podcasts. Or join the party over on Patreon, where you get early access episodes, hang out with us, get lots of exclusive bonus content. Hope you subscribe, leave a comment below. Let us know what you think.